Hey everyone, Boozer here. Welcome back to another video. Today's video, I want to go over the brand new login champion that we're going to be able to find in-game today at the time of this video, Sun Wukong. So he's going to be a 7-day login champion that anyone can collect just by logging into the game for 7 days. The duration of this event is starting August 22nd until October 23rd. So that's the time frame where you have to log in for 7 days to get your Sun Wukong. So I got a animation here. So this is the animation provided. Sun Wukong. There he is. That's the champion. I'm going to read you guys the blurb that I got from Plarium. So it's going to be a skinwalker. He's legendary champion. He's attack based. He's spirit. Sun Wukong will be a pretty versatile champion that can be built either as a classic damage dealer or as a crowd control champion via accuracy. So let's jump into his kit, shall we? Alright, so this is it. So as you can tell, Plarium has described him as a damage dealer or a crowd controlling champion that requires accuracy. So they're further saying his main place to shine will be in PvP content. Totally makes sense. Sun Wukong is the first of his kind with the ability to place polymorph that is not related to blessings, but built into his skill set. A unique passive ability allows him to make powerful combos with Valkanen, thanks to his auto revive ability, which will definitely come in handy on that team with that fella. Moreover, Sun Wukong increases ally speed in arena battles by 28%. He will appear in the game tomorrow, which is today, time of this video, and you will be able to get this champion by logging into the game for 7 days straight, starting August 22nd. Until October 23rd. Please note you won't be able to summon Sun Wukong from shards until while the loyalty program is active. Makes sense. So here, let's go over his kit real quick. His A1 attacks one enemy, has a 25% chance of placing stun for 1 turn, increases to 50% if they have any buffs. After books, he's 50%. So it's actually quite decent. We'll do a skill comparison against current existing champions in a moment here. I'll just go over his kit real quick. Staff of Wonder is A2. Attack one enemy, ignore 50% of the target's defense. Will attack all remaining enemies with any surplus damage if target is killed. It's kind of like trample damage. If you guys are playing like magic cards, it's kind of like that idea. So this additional, basically, I clarified, but this additional attack, so the second attack, will also ignore 50% of the target's defense, but it cannot crit. So that's a little asterisk here for this move. If the initial target survives, place a sheep debuff on them for 1 turn. This cannot be blocked. So this move is actually pretty dang insane, because if you're fighting a tank and you can't kill them outright, you turn them into a sheep, which basically probably kills them because you render them pretty much useless and they lose all their buffs and so forth. So this move is pretty insane. It has 30% damage in books. It's a 3-turn cooldown. Very reasonable, insane move. It's definitely going to be used quite a bit, I think. And yeah, so his A3 attacks all enemies before attacking, steal all buffs from all enemies, and then place a block buffs debuff on themselves for 2 turns. 3-turn cooldown again. This is very interesting because it steals the buffs, not removes the buffs. So if they have tons of buffs, he gets jacked up with buffs, and then you place block buff on them after they have no buffs left. It's not conditional block buffs like Uko, where they have no buffs and then you place the block buff. This always places the block buff, and you cannot prevent this from happening unless you have resistance. So this is an insane move again, and yeah, like I said, I'll try to go over some of his kit against current existing champions, but these moves so far seem very strong. His passive, Unbeatable Wukong. Revive this champion with 100% HP and 100% turn meter 3 turns after they are killed. So after Sun Wukong dies, 3 turn later, it will come back full health, full turn meter, and probably gets to attack again, I guess, or do whatever again. But this passive seems to be ongoing, which is pretty cool. It's not going to be like something insane because 3 turns in arena, it's a pretty long time. But it does give like a squishy attack-based champion the ability to have some long sustainable fight power, right? So it gives him some sustainability in a longer fight, basically. And then ally speed in all battles, 28%. That's really strong. You know, that's going to be like third strongest for arena, I think. Third strongest. So you have Shazar, Arbiter, and then you have Sun Wukong. Excellent. Okay, so let's go over his kit relative to what I think are comparables. So I got this spreadsheet here. I know, super blinding spreadsheet, but we can go over his kit here. So his A1, so his A1's up here. It's a 50% chance of stun on his A1. These are the comparables I found that were kind of comparable to his A1, so 50%. We have basically only two champions that are better than his A1, just as a base. So we have a double hit from Rorik and double hit from Samson, which gives them like an overall higher percentage to stun. Rollbar and Solus both have 50% chance to stuns on their A1, which is the same as Sun Wukong. The thing with Sun Wukong is that he has a conditional 100% chance to stun on an A1, which probably makes his move insanely like strong relative to what is currently in existence from these legendary champions. So you can see from this list, Dracul, Hakorn Smashlord, Ignatius, Jetni, Garog, Trunda, Yoshi. You can see from this list of champions, no one even comes close. Like, not many of them even come close to like 50, not all of them, and let alone 100. And the condition that they have to have a buff on them is generally pretty easy to fulfill. So I think Sun Wukong's A1 for A1 stun ends up having to be the best. It's probably the best A1 stun ability in the game, because the only ones that are better is Rorik and Samson, and they're both double hits, and they just give a higher percentage chance. But if you factor in the conditional 100% chance, I would say that this is pretty close to the best. Pretty close to the best A1 stun ability in the game. So let's move on. His A2, so this, if you recall, this one is the sheep ability. It's a single target hit. So these single target ignore defense hit. So these are the champions I found that have somewhat of a comparable move. So Krutraxa has a 50% ignore defense on her A1, so it's slightly different. Her multiplier is a 3.2 on A1. Her base attack is kind of low. The one that is interesting is Mountain King. His A2, it's a 4-turn cooldown, so it's a little bit different because Sun Wukong's is a 3-turn cooldown. But Mountain King's ignore defense A2, it actually hits super hard. So it's kind of an outlier. Of course, it's a 4-turn cooldown, so we gotta say that it should be a bit stronger, obviously, than a 3-turn cooldown. And then Gala also has a 4-turn cooldown. She's an epic, by the way, with a 4.7 multiplier, and it's a conditional based off of her shields, based off of her requiring shields. 4.7 is actually not super strong, but I think because of her condition, it's like kind of okay. But it's not super strong by any stretch for a single target A1. Basilius, so these are the 3-turn cooldowns that I kind of found on legendaries. So Basilius has a multi-hit, triple hit, ignore 50% chance with 5.4 total multiplier, 5.4 total multiplier on his A2. It's similar, I would say it's similar. He has similar base attack to Sun Wukong. His book value is 25% in damage, and Sun Wukong is 30%. So based on this, Rorik has a higher has higher base attack, but his multipliers are lower and his damage from books is lower. And then Yakarl requires freeze, which makes his huge multiplier, his 6x multiplier, much worse because he's hitting frozen minions, and of course he doesn't get much damage from books. So the only one that is like really strong is Rhodos. Rhodos has a really strong A3 with a 60% ignore defense, 40% damage from books, which is massive. And he has really good scaling on his abilities. So I would say Rhodos probably has one of the best 3-turn cooldown ignore defense hits. So going back to Sun Wukong, just factoring in his ignore defense portion of his A2, I would say, like, we don't know his multipliers yet, so we don't know how hard he's going to hit. But I basically put a low, average, slash expected, slash, and then green would be the high, which would be like meta meta damage dealer. So depending what Plarium does with their multiplier for this move, that's the big thing. That's the big thing that's going to make this champion either like super good or nothing. I mean, this guy won't be nothing. That's the thing. This guy won't be nothing because he has two ways to play him. You can play him as a damage dealer if he has good multipliers, and if he doesn't, his CC abilities are still very strong. So he's not necessarily going to be pigeonholed into one type. You can play him on both types. The problem with him as a support champion is that he is attack based, so he doesn't have great stats, doesn't have great HP, defense. He has good speed, but he doesn't have like good defense. He has good attack, so of course for an attack based champion. So I think if he's anywhere around 5 or 5.5, similar to Basilius, he will probably get used in some situations. Personally, I think he's probably going to end up slightly worse than Basilius because his move also has some extra stuff that happens. He has excess damage that can flow to the rest of the team, and then also this huge sheep debuff, which obviously is going to require accuracy, but the sheep debuff is a huge plus because if you think about it, Basilius is just a triple hit, just straight damage. Most of these moves are just straight damage. Your Carl does offer some debuffs, but yeah, your Carl does offer some debuffs. It's kind of weird. So it's like, but freeze debuff and some TM versus like the sheep, it's kind of a lot different. The sheep is a pretty hard CC for a single target, and Rhodos is basically just pure damage. So for Sun Wukong, I would expect his multipliers to be lower, maybe lower than 5, just because he has some extra abilities on his A2. But I think if it's over 5, and of course if it's over 5.5, basically stronger than Basilius, I would say this is like a meta. This champion can be used in probably high ranked arenas as a damage dealer with the possibility to sheep like a tank, like a huge tank or a trouble champion. Of course it would require accuracy, but accuracy you can definitely add in as well to your kit while putting on some good damage. 30% damage, as I said, from books is excellent. It's definitely in the upper tiers of book damage value. If we move on to his A3 is his AoE steal buffs. It's not a strip, sorry, it's a steal, and then placing the block buffs. So like I said, I put the damage estimates here based on low, medium, and high, and I put on some kind of meta-ish champions with kind of generic 3-turn cooldown AoEs with some small benefit. So here we can all agree that a steal buffs, AoE steal buff from everybody, and placing a block buff is probably better than a weaken, a provoke, or a decreased turn meter from these 3 champions, Ethos, Harima, and Georgid, which I used as an example. Basically, I used them as an example because of where the multipliers are. So Ethos is A2, it's a triple hit, it's a 4.05 multiplier. Harima's AoE is a 3.9 multiplier, and then Georgid has a 4 times multiplier. So also Ethos and Georgid both have slightly more base attack than Sun Wukong, and Ethos deals more damage from books, gets more damage boost from books. So if we're basing it purely off of this, we can pretty confidently say like if his multiplier was like a 4, it's on par damage wise to like a Georgid AoE. Slightly worse because 20, about 20 attack less, but it's slightly on par. And if you add in the fact that he can steal buffs and place a block buff, which is actually pretty rare to have as an AoE, then you can say that at 4 multiplier, this move is actually incredibly good. Better than any of these 4-turn multiplier AoEs from these champions, Ethos, Harima, or Georgid, just because of the steal and block buff ability. So this feels like it's not like a damage dealer ability, but of course stealing buffs will help him go through champions. So you definitely don't need like an insane multiplier or as high, and I don't feel Plarium will give him as high a multiplier on this move. But if we can expect a 4, I'd be pretty confident that this move is definitely viable in a high-end arena. And if it's like a 3.5, like we're teetering on like it's not going to be very strong but still usable, So 3.5 definitely takes the winds out of his sail a bit on his kit, on this move especially. But hopefully both the A2 and the A3, they have good multipliers going in, just because, just compared to what we're looking at existing champions, it seems to be on par with some of these champions if it was somewhere in the middle. So 5 multiplier and a 4x multiplier. But obviously anything better will make him that much more valuable in arena settings. Alright guys, there you have it. I hope you guys like my quick analysis on Sun Wukong's kit. It's not super thorough, but it does give us a rough idea of how his kit stacks up against existing champions and what moves they have currently. Overall, I think his kit should be incredibly good, unless his multipliers are like disgustingly low. If they are even remotely average or high, he will be an insane champion. A login champion of this caliber is just absolutely insane. I feel like Plarium is definitely hitting home runs, giving us these insane login champions. Ultimate Death Knight, Ronda, Artak. Now we have Sun Wukong. Incredible. So, I mean, this is a huge boost to any player. This guy should be a huge boost to any roster, anybody's roster, especially brand new players. Yeah, he should be a great champion. Overall stats, we don't see the stats yet. However, there was a leaked video showing the stats. He's about 16,000 HP with about 105 speed. His defense about 800 as well. So didn't show anything more than that. And yeah. Anyways, that's going to be it, guys. That's going to be my quick wrap up on his kit, and we'll be expecting to see him pretty soon. August 22nd, 7-day login. It's going to be ongoing until October 23rd, so there is time to pick him up if you guys don't log in all the time. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think of Sun Wukong in the comments below. Would love to hear what you guys think. He looks incredible to me. Looks-wise, I think looks pretty good too. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for me, and yeah, take care, have a great rest of the weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video.